We never, in front of our children, we never did anything crazy. If they didn't see us doing that, what's the chance that they'll do it when they're older?
I think our journey began from a sermon that we heard with Francis Chan, and he was challenging us in our faith, questioning, if just had we become comfortable in our faith, what are we doing that's really stepping out in faith? Are we making plans for the future just based on ourselves and, just planning for, retirement and a life of leisure and fun and I think just challenging the notion of, really stepping out and letting God do a big work in our lives. And from that, really felt like the Lord laid on our heart or a leading into what would become, foster care, respite care. And that's really how things initially started. We did not have an intent at that time to adopt. That wasn't on our radar. But I think it just started as an act of obedience to the Lord and wanting to follow where He led us.
The part of his sermon, it's only about a minute. His whole hour speech was, the only part was a minute, where he said, what are you going to do with your last moments of your life? Right before you see your Creator, what are you going to be doing? That really hit it, because I was at that point where I was at the point of just sitting in the backyard reading books and getting older. And I thought that was a waste.
So in doing respite, we met the boys. That's how that started. The family that was fostering them were friends of ours, and so we began helping and doing respite for the boys and just watching them whenever they needed it. Throughout that time, I think every once in a while we would kind of talk about, what would we do if they needed a home, and then we'd kind of go, that won't ever happen, and kind of try to brush it off, and then sure enough.
And at the time, it was only 2 that we were doing respite for.
Right. The youngest was in a different foster home at that time, so we knew the older 2 and didn't know him yet.
And so when it came up for adoption, it was all 3, the sibling group, all 3.
Mm-hmm. And they were 1, 2, and 3, and so that was a little daunting at the time to think about. But we knew the Lord had made it clear that this was His intent for our family and His plan, and so we just said that we would keep moving forward as long as He kept opening doors.
I think I kind of feel that these boys were called to us, and I think that if we would have said no, I think our lives right now probably wouldn't. I can't imagine what our lives would be like if we said no, because that was totally disobeying what God had for us. Yeah, to sacrifice for these 3 boys. At the time, I don't know if we ever really did struggle with the decision once we made it.
When you're young, love is a very selfish nature. It's about what can you do for me? How will you make me feel? How will you, take care of me and meet all my needs? And probably even when you're first married, and children definitely change that. And I think with the boys, I guess seeing God's love fleshed out towards someone that you didn't even know, months ago or whatever, and then all of a sudden you meet this person and you're compelled by this love. And
maybe the love at first is not the love that it turned into be.
Right. But I think this love with them is it's hard, it's work, and it's it's good days and it's bad days, and it's you know, there's struggles that they have just from their life and past, and so it's learning how to love in the midst of, you know, hard days and tantrums and things that don't go our way, and lots of noise and, you know, just things that. So I think it's a real walking out of love. It's not the ooey gooey feeling, and it's not, you know, it's not easy always. But again, at the end of the day, you know, when they're in their beds and asleep, and no matter how, you know, hard the day has been, you know, you look at your kids and, you know, you just can't imagine anything different, and as hard as it's been, or as ornery as they've been, I mean, you're just filled with, you know, such love for them, and you know, there's just a freeing, you know, that's happening with just our ability to love, I guess, yeah, just more sacrificially. And
when we first met him, you know, it's like when you first meet your wife, you know, kind of the love at first sight. Oh, they're cute. Oh, they're funny. Oh, they have a bright smile. But then you know, a few months into it, that love changes by being a committed love.
And I think in our lives, what the Lord has and continues to work out in us, and learning about love and laying down our lives and sacrificing, and for our children. Also, you know, learning that and seeing life beyond themselves, you know, seeing the bigger picture of life and faith, and what God has done, and the provisions that He has given us so much, and so many stories, you know, since we've had the boys, that they've gotten to witness that maybe they wouldn't have seen if we hadn't stepped out, you know, in faith with this as well. We don't know what the Lord is, you know, calling each individual or couple or family, you know, to. But I do know that in my heart, before we started this journey, you know, years before, that the Lord would always kind of plant, you know, a seed of. I had other friends who had adopted, and you watch their lives and kind of wonder, you know, so maybe it's something where you've kind of wondered before, you've had that little thing in the back of your mind of wanting to step out in that. And so, you know, just the encouragement that God meets you right there. And I think, you know, he does desire that we take care of the orphans. And
He does give you what you need beforehand. He gives you what you need then, right there.
Right. I mean, He does provide. And I think, you know, again, it's all about stepping out in that big step of faith, you know, to something that only God alone can meet you in. You know, that this you know, was and is nothing of ourselves. You know, this is God's story that He's writing, and you know, we just know our lives, our family, has been touched in an amazing, beautiful way by these boys, and
for eternity.
And so,
not just 20, 30 years.
Right.
It's just we're changing not only our lives, but those boys' lives forever.
So I think it's, you know, if it's something that anyone's ever, you know, wondered about or had thoughts of, you know, to keep praying and seek the Lord and find people that have walked this road and ask questions, and just see, you know, where it is that the Lord might take you. And maybe maybe it's not fostering or adopting, but maybe it's coming alongside families that are and helping them, or maybe it's, you know, something completely different. But I think overall it's just an asking of the Lord, you know, how do I walk out your love? How do I show to those around me who Jesus is, and the love that He has, and His redemption and His plan, and what does that look like for us as, you know, individually, and go from there and walk out in faith.